on, I've got to try my Norwegian.
Oh yeah.
You gotta get to the dive. Right?
That's not bad. Let me find your my English then. What? Okay. Me and Mike, we met in Bristol. I think 2001,
2001.
Yeah. It's a long time ago, and we've had some kind of communication every now and then.
No, we met in Bristol, and I think it was Frode, or it was Harold, came up to me at the bar and said, do you want to come back to my hotel room and try my salty meat?
And Mike responded, well, I don't think I have the equipment for that.
He was very good.
Yeah, he looked like that then as well. No, we met in Bristol, and we talked about coming to Norway later on, and some kind of reason, every time we were like, yeah, this time we should. Sorry, I can't come anyway, or something else came up, and so it went on and off.
Well, I mean, I live in Florida now, and I didn't really want to give you the expense of that.
No, we appreciate that one, of course. So, and then figure out, oh, I'm in Europe. And it's not that far to go from where he lives in Europe to Norway, and so that sounds great. Because we really wanted Mike Perkins, because I guess everybody has seen his artwork, right? You've seen how beautifully he inks and pencils everything. We'll look at some of that stuff here, so that you'll see why we wanted him to come to Norway. I don't think we just don't. Yeah. So we'll look at this is what we want to do during this show. We will try to answer the following questions. Who is Mike Perkins? Why comics at all? What are you doing in comics, and how do you work in comics? We could talk for hours. We had to run through this presentation and figure out we could do this for several hours. So
actually, the run through went for about 4 hours.
Yeah. And we had to redo it and do it another time, so it was so horrible. But I think we'll kick it off.
Yeah.
At the beginning. And I will have to comment, this is something he did when he was 8 years old.
7, 8 years old, that one. And that's more recent. Same character. So I'm still pursuing my dream. Sorry?
He was 9 years old when he did that one. My response to getting this one is, he said that he was 8 years old. I was saying, well, the regular kid would do Batman or Superman. Then luck. No wonder he actually likes and prefers to work with Mike Carey with his horror twisted mind. Wings.
This was a little bat figure thing that Step Up blew up completely. That was my 8-year-old mind at work.
I would say if I had my 8-year-old kid drawing something like that, I would say, we're going back to Donback, okay? But then again, Mike evolved, and of course you can see that one over there.
Yeah. I've also got pictures from when I was 7, perhaps 6 years old, of me drawing Captain America as well. So again, you know, there's that progression there that I've done. I've actually got paid for it now. So not the stuff I did when I was 7. I never got paid for that. But the stuff I'm doing now is Captain America. It's just such a nice progression from doing the stuff I was doing when I was a baby to the stuff I'm doing now.
And when did you decide to work like comics? That's the thing.
When I was about 2, I think. No, seriously. I always loved comics. I always loved them. And I was always drawing them. I would draw them on anything. My mum would bring wallpaper, and I'd draw on the back of the wallpaper. And I would fill exercise books. You know, the exercise books that you get from school. I would fill them with stories and comics and everything. I'd also, when I was 15, I photocopied comics and sold them at school. There's a tradition in England that with a comic you usually get a free gift with the comic, especially if it's the first issue. And so I used to sell them at lunchtime. I used to sell my comics at lunchtime. But I would put a fun-size Mars bar on the front, so people would pick it up and go, hey! So that was my first My first business experience.
Did you make any money, or you sell?
Oh yeah. No, I made money. It's great.
But obviously, when you start going at school, how do you think? What do you think? Well, how do you go and get into the business? Did you make stories by your own, or did you contact them and say, I can illustrate things for you?
I think it first came to me when I guess when Captain Bergen came out in 1976, when I was 5, 6 years old. And that's when I realized that, okay, we've got some homegrown heroes here. Maybe that's something I can actually do when I'm grown up. And then 2000 AD came out, and that was more so. I mean, we got the humor comics, we got Beano and Dandy, and we had a great history of war comics and stuff like that, but I wasn't really interested in that. But when 2000 AD came out, that was my comic. That was it. Yeah. And I was always sending stuff into 2000 AD, even when I was like 14. I didn't send a Mars bar with it, you know.
Might have helped you.
Might have worked. Yeah, so I was always sending stuff in. Really.
Yes, and I usually do these kind of shows. I show covers of what they've done. So I want everybody to raise a hand who owns one of the next comics that's going to be shown. Anybody owns any of these? There you go. The man in the back. But you should own that one. You rolled it.
You got the Kilroy one as well.
Look, can you? Is this like which one do you choose and do, or did somebody else choose you on these ones?
Well, I think I told this in the seminar that we did with Howard. The way I got the Marvel UK work, it was simply because one of my friends is a writer, Paul Birch. He was always recycling stuff. He was always recycling paper, and so he sent some ideas into Marvel UK, and Marvel UK got back in touch with him and said we don't have. We can't use these at the moment. But who did the illustrations on the back? Because he was always recycling. So it was my illustrations. So that's what got me into Marvel UK, weirdly enough. And one of the first things I did at Marvel UK was Wind in the Willows, but it was also Biker Mice from Mars, which this one I think was actually written by Dan Abnett. So we've come a long way since then, really. But it's nice to be able to utilize the different muscles. Because I've been working for 2000 AD before then, and so that was a more realistic take on the work. So it was nice to use the cartoony muscle. But, the other ones, around about 95, I moved to Poland, following my girlfriend back to Poland. And I started to do some work for Caliber Comics, which paid nothing, really. But at the time in Poland, I could work for 2000 AD. I could do a 2000 AD job and live off that for 3 months. And during that time, I could do the Caliber stuff, which would get me under the nose of the American publishers. And that was a way to do that. The first ones I did were Kilroy, and then that led on to the Dr. Faustus thing that I did with Mike Carey. And that's, like Mike said, that's still one of my favourite pieces of work I've done, really. It was so much more in depth than a lot of the other comics I've been working on. So it was a joy to work on, really. And then that kind of led to I was doing Black Mist, and I was doing an adaptation of Necroscope at the same time. So I was working on the two things at the same time, and they were actually printing. They were actually selling a lot of copies of this, but I still wasn't seeing any money. So by the time I got to issue 3, I was like, okay, that's enough. I'm not seeing any money, And by that time, I'd moved back to England as well, so it was time to start earning proper money again. Really.
Yeah, that was the old stuff.